Hello everyone, welcome you again to another session of teaching ICSE biology for standard 9. In this session I will explain you chapter 4, that is the flower, which is included in unit 2, flowering plants. Let us know what is a flower. Flower is the seed-bearing part of angiospermic plant consisting of reproductive organs, that is stamens and carpels, that are typically surrounded by a brightly colored corolla, consist of petals, and a green calyx consists of sepals. Flower is a modified shoot in which the leaves are modified into floral parts. It is also the reproductive part of the plant. As you have seen in your surrounding, flowers greatly differ in the color, arrangement of their parts in shape and size. Let us study the structure of a bisexual flower. Let me tell you first what is a bisexual flower. A bisexual flower is a flower which has both male and female reproductive parts. The male reproductive part is known as stamen and the female reproductive part is known as carpel. The stalk of the flower which is connected to the stem, that is called pedicel. On the top of the pedicel, there is a disc-like structure which is called a receptacle. On this receptacle, all the floral structures are situated. This receptacle is also called thalamus. There are 4 holes present in this flower. First hole, outermost hole, consists of sepals which is called calyx. The second hole towards the inner side consists of petals which is known as corolla, and the third hole consists of stamens, and the innermost hole is called gynoecium. Stamen is the male reproductive part and gynoecium is the female reproductive part. Let us study in detail. A typical bisexual flower consists of the following parts: pedicel or the stalk which supports the flower and keep it connected to the stem. The receptacle which acts as the base of the flower. It is also called thalamus. And other floral parts are arranged in the following 4 holes. First hole, outermost hole, is called calyx. Second hole is corolla. Third hole is androecium. And the fourth hole is gynoecium. All these holes are arranged in concentric rings. The outermost rings is calyx. Second outer is corolla. Inner to that is a ring of stamen and the innermost ring is gynoecium. Concentric ring means all the rings are arranged around one center. You can see here the side view as well as the top view of a flower in which all the floral parts are arranged. Starting from outer side, calyx, then corolla, then stamen, then carpel. General description of all the floral parts, one after the other in detail, we will discuss now. The outermost hole, that is called calyx. Calyx is the outermost hole consisting of sepals. They are usually green in color and 5 in number, but the number may vary from flower to flower. But sometimes the calyx may be colored, as you have seen in gulmohar. Then they are known as petaloid sepals. There may be a second set of petals called episepals, collectively known as epicalyx. For example, hibiscus. Calyx may be gamosepalous or polycepalous. Gamosepalous calyx is when the sepals are united or fused. It is known as gamosepalous. Example, China rose or hibiscus. Polysepalous is when the sepals are free, the flower is known as polysepalous or the calyx is known as polysepalous. For example, mustard. The calyx withers after formation of fruit and is shed up. But sometimes in brinjal and apple, the calyx still remains after fruit formation. This is known as persistent calyx. Functions of calyx are sepals enclose the bud and protect the inner holes. Calyx being green in color manufacture food in plant. Then we come to the second whorl that is called corolla. Corolla is the second whorl consisting of brightly colored large floral structures, petals. Usually there are 5 petals, but the number varies from flower to flower. In some flowers, petals may be green, then they are known as sepaloid petals. Calyx may be gamopetalous or polypetalous. Gamopetalous calyx when the petals are united or fused. Example, hibiscus and periwinkle. Polypetalous is when the petals are free. The condition is called polypetalous. Example, bindweed and elderberry. The functions of corolla are due to bright color, corolla attracts the insects for pollination. In the bud stage, the corolla protects the inner essential organs, namely stamens and carpels. Here in this picture, you can see calyx and corolla. Calyx normally green in color, outermost hole, and corolla is the second hole that is normally brightly colored and prominent and very attractive. Here you can see the condition of gamopetalous, polypetalous, gamosepalous and polysepalous. When all the sepals are united, it is called gamosepalous. When all the sepals are free, it is called polysepalous. Same way, when all the petals are separate, not connected to each other, then that is called polypetalous. When all the petals are connected to each other, that is called gamopetalous. The prefix poly means free or separated and the prefix gamo means fused or united. Then we come to the third whorl that is androecium, which is also one reproductive part of the flower. This is the male reproductive part. Androecium is composed of units called stamens. Each stamen consists of a long, slender stalk called filament, which bears a two-lobed or bilobed structure at its tip that is called anther. Filament is connected to anther by a very small structure that is called connective. Each lobe of anther contains two chambers called pollen grains or pollen sacs. These chambers are called pollen sacs. Within each pollen sac, there are fine, powdery, granular structures dust-like. Those are called pollen grains, within which the male gametes form or develop. When fully matured, the pollen sacs rupture themselves and the pollen grains are released. Here you can see the structure of anther and there is a cross section also you can see here. Inside you can see pollen sacs and in the pollen sacs pollen grains are there and the arrangement of stamens also you can see in a flower. Anther is at the tip of the stamen and the long slender structure is filament and you must have got a clear idea of the structure of stamen. Then we go to structure of gynoecium. But before going to gynoecium, we will discuss about the type of androecium. Androeciums are of different types. First of all, we can divide them into two types, that is polyandrous and gamoandrous. As you know, poly means free, gamo means fused or united. Polyandrous condition of stamen means all the stamens are free. They are not connected, they are not grouped. All free stamens in a flower is called polyandrous condition. Number of androecium vary from flower to flower. And gamoandrous condition is stamens are joined together in groups. In gamoandrous condition, stamens may be joined in single, double or several groups. On that basis, they are grouped into three categories. First category is monadelphous, where the stamens are united into one group, that is China rose. Second category is diadelphous, where the stamens are united into two groups, example pea or sweet pea. Then third category is polyandrous, where the stamens are united in several groups. An example is Bombax mori. So altogether there are four types of androecium: polyandrous, monadelphous, diadelphous and polyadelphous. Here in the picture you can see the different conditions of androecium. The first one is polyandrous, where all the stamens are free. One of the exception in the flowers is in polyandrous condition. In polyandrous condition, all the stamens are free, but in gamoandrous condition, the stamens are grouped. And this grouping is different. When all the stamens are united in one group, that is called monadelphous. In hibiscus or China rose flower, there is a staminal tube formed at the center and where all the stamens are grouped in one bundle, that is called monadelphous. Diadelphous condition we have seen in sweet pea, in which 10 stamens are there, 9 stamens are grouped into one group and one stamen remains separate. In polyandrous condition, that is in Bombax mori, the stamens are grouped into many bundles. So these are all about the types of androecium or different conditions of androecium in the flower. Then the female reproductive part of the flower, that is gynoecium. Gynoecium is also called pistil. That is the female reproductive part and also the innermost wall of the flower. It is composed of units called carpels. Each carpel has the following three parts. First part is stigma, which is the terminal or tip of the carpel, which may be a knob-like structure, flattened structure, disc-like structure, sticky or feathery, or maybe having many lobes in it, or maybe having 4 to 5 lobes or 2 lobes. It differs from flower to flower. And the stigma is adapted suitably to receive the pollen grains. Then from stigma, an extension is there in downward direction. That is a long, slender, stalk-like structure supporting the stigma, and it connects the stigma to ovary. That is called style. At the base of the carpel, there is a oval structure or a swollen base, which is called ovary. It contains minute, rounded or oval structures called ovules, within which female gametes are formed. The cushion or the swollen region in ovary to which the ovules are attached, or we call the wall of the ovary, that is called placenta. Here you can see a clear picture of gynoecium, that is present on the base of the thalamus, the innermost hole, and the part which rests on the base of the thalamus, that is called ovary, ovary wall, and ovary wall encloses the ovules inside, and ovules are connected to a cushion-like structure called placenta, and from ovary the extension that is originated, that is called style, then at the tip of the style, stigma. Here you can see petals and sepals, which we have discussed before about the structures in detail of the sepals and petals. Sepals and petals are called non-essential parts of a flower. These are non-reproductive parts of a flower. They don't have any role in the reproduction process. They have other functions. They attract insects for pollination. They give protection to the essential reproductive parts, but they are non-essential parts. Even if the non-essential parts are absent in a flower, reproductive parts or essential parts are present, then flower can reproduce. These two are called essential parts of a flower, namely androecium and gynoecium. The first picture you see, that is below, you see that is gynoecium, and the second one you see, that is androecium. Gynoecium is the male part, gynoecium is the female part, and androecium is the male part. These are reproductive parts or essential parts of a flower. Now come to different kinds of flowers. We can divide the flowers into complete flower and incomplete flower. When all four holes are present in the flower, it is termed as complete flower. But when any of the four holes is missing, it is termed as incomplete flower. Then another grouping is, that is bisexual and unisexual flower. When both the reproductive parts, androecium and gynoecium, are present, then the flower is known as bisexual or hermaphrodite flower. But when any of the reproductive parts, either stamen or carpel, is absent, then that is known as unisexual flower. If the flower lacks gynoecium, no gynoecium is there, then the stamens are present, then the flower is called staminate flower. If the flower lacks androecium is absent, pistil or carpel is present, then that is called pistillate flower. If the flower lacks both the reproductive organs, none of the reproductive organs are present, neither stamen is there nor pistil is there, then it is termed as neuter flower. Complete flowers have all typical parts. You can see in the picture, sepals, petals, stamens and pistil all are present. In incomplete flower, any part is missing. Like here you can see the petals are missing. You can see the stamens, but you cannot see the petals here. So that can be termed as incomplete flower. Here you can see a staminate flower where the stamens are present but pistil is not present. The male part is present, female part is absent. The second one you see pistillate flower where the gynoecium or pistil is present but androecium or stamen is absent. Both of them are called unisexual flowers. Here you can see the example of neuter flower. You might have seen dahlia, you might have seen marigold, in which you can see these two types are actually compound flowers, in which very small florets are present, and all these florets form the total flower. So two types of florets are there. At the center you can see very small flower-like structures are there, which is called disc floret, and in the periphery there are little bigger flower-like structures are there which are called ray florets. These ray florets are neuter flowers. These ray florets don't have a stamen. They might have pistil, but that is sterile. That is not capable of reproduction. And the disc florets are capable of reproduction. Disc florets are not neuter flower. Only ray florets are neuter flowers. Depending on the presence or absence of stalk of the flower can be categorized into pedicellate flower and sessile flower. The stalk on which the flower is borne is called pedicel. The flowers having pedicel are called pedicellate flowers, and the flowers which lack pedicel are called sessile flowers. As you see here, the first one is sessile flower where no stalk is there to connect the stem to the flower. The flower is directly connected to the stem, and in the second picture you see there is a stalk connecting the flower to the stem. The first one is sessile flower, second one is pedicellate flower. There are some modifications seen in the flowers. They are called perianth, sepaloid and petaloid. In some cases, in some flowers we see petals and sepals are fused together, undifferentiated. Normally in a normal flower, petals and sepals are separate. They are in two different holes. But in some flowers, they are not in two different holes. They are fused together forming one hole together, and that structure is called perianth. Sometimes the perianth is green in color. Then it is called cephaloid perianth. When the perianth is non-green in color, then it is called petaloid perianth. Here you can see the picture of perianth. You see here there is no separate hole of calyx and corolla. Both calyx and corolla are fused together. Calyx portion you see is looking green in color, and corolla portion is looking colored. And these kind of structures are neither called sepals nor called petals. They are called tepals. So perianth condition consists of tepals. Here you can see a cephaloid perianth in the first picture where the sepals and petals are fused together but green in color. And in the second picture you see sepals and petals are fused together but they are colored. They are brightly colored, which is called petaloid perianth. Another modification seen in flowers is bracts, which you might have seen in bougainvillea. Sometimes the flower develops as a branch from a bud growing in the axil of a leaf-like structure called the bract. Here in the picture you see pink color big leaf-like structures. These are called bracts. Where the bracts are joined together, that portion is called axil. And from this axil, small white color flowers are coming out. You can see those are called actually flowers, but sometimes we misunderstand these bracts as flowers. One of the example of this colored bracts is bougainvillea, which is very common in our surrounding. You might have seen also in your gardens, in your surrounding. And bracts may be green also in color, but in bougainvillea it is colored bracts with small star-like white flowers inside at the axil of the bracts. One of the example of nectar secreting flower is, or flower having nectar is nasturtium. On the basis of presence or absence of reproductive parts, we can group the plants into two categories, that is monoecious plants and dioecious plants. When both male and female flowers are present on the same plant, the plant is called monoecious plant. Examples are castor, mage, and pumpkin. But in dioecious plants, when the male and female flowers are present, they are present on two different plants. So one separate plant having male flower, one separate plant having female flower. So two types of plants are seen, that is one plant having male flower, other plant having female flower. This kind of plants are called dioecious plants. But in monoecious plants, both male and female flowers are present in one plant. Inflorescence is the mode of arrangement of flowers on the axis of plants. You can see different plants having flowers arranged in different condition. They are arranged in bunches, they are arranged in single condition, they are arranged older flowers at the tip and younger flowers below, or alternate younger flowers at the tip, older flowers at the below. Here in the picture you can see different arrangement of flowers on the main axis or main stalk. This arrangement of flowers on the axis of plants is called inflorescence, and there are different types of inflorescence are there, like cyme inflorescence, panicle inflorescence, umbel inflorescence, composite inflorescence, etc. Placentation is the manner in which the ovules are arranged or attached to the wall of the ovary. Different flowers have different number of ovules, and how many numbers of ovules are present, that many numbers of seeds are present in the fruits of that plant. The number of ovules may be 2, maybe 4, maybe 8. They differ from flower to flower. Same way seeds also differ from fruits to fruits, and these ovules are arranged or attached to a cushion-like structure inside the ovary. That cushion-like structure is called placenta, which is the attachment of ovules inside the ovary. And this arrangement of ovules on the placenta is different in different flowers, and this arrangement is called placentation. So you can define placentation as the manner in which the ovules are arranged or attached to the wall of the ovary. At the end, I would like to tell you the significance of flower. The flower is the most conspicuous structure or prominent structure in an angiospermic plant. It is at the same time the most important part of the plant because it is specially designed for a reproduction, thereby ensuring the continuity of life. I hope this will help you to understand the chapter. Thank you.